Welcome to Mind Shift Power Podcast, a show for teenagers and the adults who work with them, where we have raw and honest conversations. I'm your host, Fatima Bey, the Mind Shifter. And welcome, everyone. Today we have with us Shawnti Refuge. She is from the Houston, Texas area. She is a mental health coach and an author. How are you today, Shawnti?
I am well. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. I can't wait to have this conversation. Let's dive right into it. I like to dive right into it. So
Let's go.
You're an author.
Yes.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a second. You're also a mental health coach. What made you decide to become a mental health coach?
It was never my intention to be one. I became one in 2021, and that is because I had a nervous breakdown in 2018. So when I went through that process and learned why I went through that process, and, I was diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety. And they wanted to give me antidepressants. And I didn't want that. I wanted to know, why I'm having this nervous breakdown. What happened? What caused it? So through the holistic approach, I talked to a therapist, and she taught me how to use guided journals. She taught me everything I needed to know to get myself better. And I used the tools that she suggested. They worked. And I was like, okay, well, let me go help somebody else.
So, I love that. Yeah. I love that you decided to take your loss and turn it into a win is one way I could word it.
Yeah.
But you decided to take what you went through and said, you know what, there's probably other people going through the same thing. And let me see if I can help.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about your book. Your book is called Quiet as Kept, which is why we named this episode Quiet as Kept. Yes. It is about your childhood and adult traumas. Yes. Give us a brief idea of, all right, we've all gone through stuff, but maybe your stuff is a little bit different. Give us a brief idea of what we can gain by reading this book. What can this book do for us?
Quiet as Kept, what it can do for you is it's a relatable piece. I went through child abuse in my childhood. I was a teen mom. I had my first kid at 14.
Oh, wow.
And, so just imagine being an 8th grader pregnant. And I made a lot of bad choices. I got arrested when I was 16. More bad choices, but I did graduate on time. I graduated with a 3-year-old.
Oh, wow.
And I went on to, because of my arrest record, I couldn't get a job for the longest. And that was very discouraging. So that led me to do not good things. But, I had a series of bad relationships, and they were bad because of me, not the other person.
Okay.
I was a serial cheater. And, yes, all of that came back to bite me in my butt. So that's what you're going to get out of the book. You're going to learn about a nervous breakdown, what exactly it is, and how to overcome it without the use of prescription medication. I was against that, totally against that. And I'm sure there's others out there who are as well. And, I want people to know that they can overcome these past traumas without medication. They just have to do it.
I absolutely love you even more now. So you were able to overcome a lot without medication. I really want to hone in and emphasize on that. And it's not that medication is completely unnecessary. Exactly. However, I do truly believe that 90% of medications taken by Americans is not needed.
I agree.
Because we have the entire country is run by the pharmaceutical industry. The Food and Drug Administration, they own it. Yeah. Whether it's legal or not, we can put the word in allegedly, for legal reasons. So yeah, sure, allegedly. But reality is they own us. Yeah. And so we are taught, even in the medical schools, to rely on medicine. And it's to our detriment, and it really harms us. And there's a lot of people running around thinking that they're quote unquote crazy, that they need to be medicated, when in fact they just need therapy. Now there's some people who do need medication, but
there is.
That is definitely true. But I truly believe that 90% of it is bullshit.
Yeah, I concur.
I'm going to repeat that. 90% of it is bullshit.
Yeah.
Simply put. But I just love that. I'm very passionate on that particular topic, if you can't tell. Because I really see the harm and the damage that it does. And that's why it makes me mad. I've been through some of my own, issues and things in the past. And, when medication was tried to shove down my throat, it actually sobered me up. I was just like, are you nuts?
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, so I love the fact that you were able to overcome things through actual therapy and your own work.
Yes. Heavy on work.
Your own work. Yeah. It sounds like, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but for the audience's sake, it wasn't just that your therapy gave you some talking points and you just sat on your butt and did nothing, right?
No, absolutely not. You have to do the work. You have to acknowledge the part you played and whatever it is that happened. And you have to own up on your stuff and be honest. You have to be honest in this process.
Yep. Instead of medicating it.
Exactly.
And because most of the time medication is used as a pacifier instead of.
That's the word I use all the time.
Fixing the actual problem.
It is a pacifier.
Because it's like easier to suck on a pacifier than it is to do the work.
Exactly. But it gets you nowhere.
Yeah. So tell me now, we got a brief understanding of what the book is about, and I'm sure that it's chock full of stories. Too many to name. You just gave us a brief overview, but too many to name, obviously, on this episode. Tell us now, why did you decide to write the book? Because a lot of people go through stuff. We all go through stuff. We don't all write books about it. Some of us might even get on stage and talk about it on a radio or a podcast like this, but we don't necessarily take the time to actually write out a book. What made you decide to write this book?
So that I can reach more people. Not everybody's on social media. Not everybody listens to podcasts. And, it was suggested that I write a book. I had no intentions on writing this book either. But people kept asking, do you have a book? You need a book. Somebody needs to read this. Somebody needs to have this in their hands. So, and it took me a year to write this book because I did not want to write it because it kept triggering me. Having to retail all this stuff, I had to stop and cry and do the healing work and then come back and start writing. But once I did it, I'm good now.
I think you just brought a really important point. When we're dealing with our stuff, we are going to be triggered.
Yes.
And we need to not be afraid of being triggered.
Exactly.
Because when we're triggered, it might hurt. It's uncomfortable. It can go deep. It can really open up old wounds, but sometimes that's how we heal too.
Yes.
We need to deal with our stuff.
You have to rip the Band-Aid off and get real with yourself. Yeah.
I'm really glad that you did. Now, I want to ask you about this. You said we had this conversation off air that basically you did some shady stuff when you were younger. You just told us you were a serial cheater.
Yeah.
And then you said it came back to bite you in the butt.
Yeah.
Tell us tell us about that.
So, I was in a relationship with my high school sweetheart. I think we had been together since 10th grade. And I want to say when I was 23, we got married and I did not want to get married. I never did. I never wanted to marry him. I didn't. But I did it because my mom wanted me to. But, the whole time we were together, I was not faithful. And he knew. I told him and he was just like, okay. And then we moved to Houston and that was another mistake. I should have left him, in my hometown where we were from. But, I cheated on, the last time I cheated on him was with my best friend.
Oh.
And and she was living with us. And at the time, we were helping her out. But
hold on, let me write this down for the next Lifetime movie script. Go ahead. Because it's starting to sound like one. Go ahead.
It is. It's a movie. And we ended up messing around. And I think that's when I really, really was like, okay, I'm done playing. And I think that explained why I cheated all the time because I was never satisfied. But when I got with her, I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to act right now. I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to do right. So when I got with her, I left him for her and this is in a book too. I left him for her. We were together, and I moved her back to my hometown so we could start over. I found a house, and she cheated on me with a coworker. I lost 50 pounds in 3 months. That's how heartbroken I was.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that you reap what you sowed.
Yeah, pretty much.
But in multiplicity.
Yes,
that's how reaping and sowing works.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know what I mean when I say that, I use the example of an apple seed. If you plant an apple seed today, you don't just get an apple. You get a whole tree of apples. Mm-hmm. It works in multiplicity, and it works for both good and bad. So whether you're planting seeds, of giving, then you reap a harvest later of getting an abundance, whether it's money, whether it's stuff, whether it's whatever. That's one way. Another way is when we plant the seeds of deception, we reap destruction. Mm-hmm. And I say that all the time, and she's just giving an example. And this is not about putting Shawnti down. She already knows that. We already talked about this, but I'm saying this to the audience because many of you are planting seeds right now, and you're going to reap the repercussions of those later. And then you wonder why. It doesn't mean that everything that happens to us is something that we planted. But if you plant it, you are 100% guaranteed to get it back.
Yeah, might not be today, might not be tomorrow, might be years from now.
Right.
You'll get it.
It's going to be in a way that's effective for you. And so you were really hurt. And I'm sure that you hurt your ex-husband.
Yeah, I did. I think I more embarrassed him because he knew. Yeah. I told him, I said, I think I'm interested in girls. And he was like, okay. That was his answer to everything. Okay. And that was another turn off for me because, I don't want to be with somebody I can run over.
Girl, me too. Go ahead.
And I ran over him. And, I think it was an issue when I think he thought he was invited, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it.
And when he found out he wasn't invited, that's when it became a problem.
I got you.
I was like, okay, well, I picked her then. And that's what I did.
So when you, and I know that there are other stories that you could tell about, seeds that you sowed and then the destruction that you reaped later. But I just think it's important to point out to people because very often we don't get it. We really ignore the fact and don't pay attention to what we're sowing and think we can just get away with doing everybody wrong around us and then wondering why we get crap later,
My mindset back then was, ain't not going to happen to me. I just knew I was invincible. Nothing was going to happen to me. And if it did, so what? I can handle it. Baby, I couldn't handle that.
Would you call that sort of thinking arrogant?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably borderline narcissistic.
I don't know if it's necessarily narcissistic, but you did say borderline, and maybe it is. But that sort of thinking in general is arrogant. It's very assumptive. Yeah. And there are people out there like that. Now, when you went through some things as you were younger, do you think any of those things shaped who you became?
Everything shaped who I became. Everything.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us a couple examples?
Yes. Like I said, I was abused as a child. Back then, I didn't know that was child abuse. I thought, okay, you did something wrong, get your butt whipped, right? But, that.
So what kind of abuse was it?
Getting whipped with, extension cords, hangers, stuff like that.
Okay.
That's considered abuse today.
Yeah.
But back then, that was like the norm. So, I passed that on. Mm-hmm. I was doing it to my kids. Mm-hmm. And, and then, teen mom, that is definitely a generational something because, one of my daughters, I have two daughters, one of my daughters, she got pregnant at an early age too. Wasn't 14 though, but, it was still before she, was ready. And then, our relationships, period. The way my mom relationship, our relationship is, that trickled over to how my relationship was, even though, I grew up. When I became grown, I said, man, I'm not going to be nothing like my mama. And I found myself being just like her, just by saying it, So a lot of things shake me. And I had to unlearn all of that after I had my nervous breakdown. I had to create a whole new Shawnti.
I think that's a key thing you just said. You had to create a whole new Shawnti.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people listening right now that need to create a whole new whatever their name is.
Yeah.
And they might be 50. Even though we're talking about teenagers here, they might be 50. Whatever you don't deal with, and Shawnti, you can agree. I know you can agree with this because you've written basically about this in your book.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't deal with the issue will deal with you.
Absolutely. I said that to somebody the other day. Girl, get out my head. Hold on. You know, you have to face. You can't sweep stuff under the rug for so long.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that hill is going to get high, and you're going to trip over it. You know, you have to deal with your issues no matter how ugly they are. You have to deal with them.
Yes, 100%. It's something I'm constantly talking about on this podcast, how important therapy is. And not just therapy, because therapy is one way of dealing with your issues. It's just important that you deal with your issues. Whether that therapy is in an office or somewhere else, just deal with it, face it, confront it. You know, get over it, because until you get over it, you're going to remain under it.
There you go.
And and that's what you're describing. I want to ask you this different kind of question.
Okay. Picture
the 14-year-old Shawnti.
Mm-hmm.
Before you said you were 14 when you got pregnant, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the 14-year-old Shawnti before she got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
In order for you, I want you to relate to the girls that are listening right now. Describe the 14-year-old Shawnti before she got pregnant.
I started having sex when I was 12.
Okay.
So between 12 and 14, I thought I was invincible, that, that's not going to happen to me. You know, I could do this with whoever and nothing was going to happen. And lo and behold, when I turned 14, I had just turned 14. And bam, here come a pregnancy, and I thought my life was over. I said, oh my God, my mom's going to kill me. Everybody's going to kill me. My dad's going to kill me. It was not easy. It was not fun. And I always say, you know, the Teen Mom show on MTV, I hated that show because I think it glamorized teen
You're not
pregnancy.
The only one. Yeah.
And that is nothing like that. It's nothing like what you see on TV. Nothing at all. And it is very hard to go to school with a baby, you know? And the Shawnti that was little girl Shawnti, she was looking for love in all the wrong places.
Can you say that again? That's what I was trying to get to.
Looking for love. I didn't feel loved at home. So I said, okay, well, let me get this person I like me. Let me have sex with them. Mm-hmm. I was used. I was handed around. And I did it to myself because I knew right from wrong. I knew I shouldn't have been doing it, but I did it anyway because I was looking for something. And I guarantee you, I did not find it in any of the people that I was having sex with back then. I shouldn't even been having sex.
Right.
But, you know, I treated it as a rite of passage for whatever dumbass reason.
And here's the thing. Well, the dumbass reason is what you just said. You were looking for love in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
And
see, back then, I didn't know that.
You didn't. And there's so many young girls right now, that very age. Some of them are older. Some of them are grown women who are doing the same thing for the same reason. Yeah. And don't recognize it. Yeah. Now, for you, in order for you to get to the point where you recognize that, was it at the breakdown, or did you realize that beforehand?
No, that was at the breakdown. Okay. The breakdown happened for a reason, and I'm glad it did. Because it allowed me to look within myself. I did not love myself. And I didn't know I didn't love myself. But having that breakdown showed me, Shawnti, you didn't love yourself back then. I didn't have any self-esteem. My self-esteem was like negative 20. I didn't care about myself.
And you are absolutely gorgeous. And I'm sure as a young teenager, you were the hottest, sexiest thing around there. So I'm sure it wasn't too hard for you to find guys who are totally interested in all that. But even with you being as pretty as you are, that did not fulfill the emptiness that you were trying to fulfill with dick.
Pretty
much. Let's be real. right? It didn't fulfill that because it never will. You could try to fill it with young ladies out there listening. You could fill it with dick. You could fill it with drugs. You could fill it with alcohol. You could fill it with whatever you want to name it. It's still not going to fit.
No, it's temporary. It's not real.
And it's important that we love ourselves.
Yes.
I'm so glad that you were just honest about that, because I think there are I know there's so many young women out there who are miniature Shawntis and they just don't realize it. Yeah. They are where you were. Yeah. And for the young girls that are where you were, what can you say? Let me rephrase it this way. This is different than the way I was going to ask it. Mm-hmm. Talk to the 14-year-old Shawnti right now.
The 14-year-old Shawnti, I had to tell her that she is loved, she is smart, she's beautiful, and you could do anything that you put your mind to. I was always the smartest person in the room, always, and people didn't like me for that. So I used to dumb myself down back then, so I could fit in. But now I'm telling Shawnti, 14-year-old Shawnti, you were made to stand out.
Right.
You're not supposed to fit in with these people.
Amen. Yes.
And love yourself, honor yourself, respect yourself. Because I sure didn't respect myself back then. And there's an actual letter to my 14-year-old self in my book.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So people can get your book to read that. Yeah. Let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. What do you say to the other current Shawntis who might be 14, 15, 16, whatever age? And when you tell them you are loved, and their response is, yeah, right, by who? My mama don't care about me. My stepfather's an asshole. Or she's got a different guy in the house every week. Nobody cares about me. They all tell me how stupid I am. Mm. What do you say to that girl?
The devil is a liar. You are loved. You are smart. You are important. You are beautiful. You are worthy. And it starts from within. Even at a young age, you have to know that you are loved. Love yourself.
How do I find that love?
Stand your ass in the mirror. Look in the mirror and talk to yourself. Talk to yourself how you want to be talked to. Mm. And then you teach other people how to talk to you and treat you.
Thank you.
It starts with you because people can read you. People can read you from a mile away. Mm-hmm. And if they see gullible, young, dumb, they're going to treat you that way. So you have to stand up, shoulders back, head high, and respect yourself.
Well, how do I respect myself?
Say no to these little boys who want to get in your pants. Say no, because that's all they want. All they want is the panties, and then they're going to go talk about you. I promise you.
Oh, that's 100% true.
Yes. They're going to go and talk about you, and then their friends going to come and want to try to hit because you let him hit, the homeboy hit. No. Don't let yourself get passed around like that. Respect your body.
And the thing is what a lot of people don't realize is once you do that, every single encounter makes you feel worse and worse about yourself. Yes. And even though you're not necessarily a bad person or any of that stuff, but it doesn't matter. It becomes your reality inside your head.
Yeah, it does.
You believe that about yourself. And you believe that all you're worth is some pussy.
No, and it is not. That's a bonus. But that is not, that doesn't define your worth. It does not. And what happened in your past doesn't define you as a person.
Can you say that again?
What happened in your past does not define you as a person.
It does not. It doesn't unless you allow it to.
Unless you allow it to.
Unless you allow it to. And I cannot stand it. It really actually angers me when people constantly bring up someone else's past who's trying to get ahead.
Why do you think I wrote this book?
For example, someone who was an alcoholic and they're really trying hard to, not be an alcoholic anymore. They're trying to get over their addiction and not allow it to be the super weakness it once was. Now, to a certain degree, it's always going to be there, but, they're trying to get over it and move on and be a sober person for the rest of their life. Right. I applaud that. It's beautiful. I support you. The last thing I'm going to do is to say, remember that time, or you always going to be a drunk, or you did this, you did that. I cannot stand people who do that. I want to punch them in the face. Now, mind you, I don't, because the cops told me that I can't keep doing that. But no, I haven't punched anybody in the face. So you know, no, but really, I'm not actually violent. But I really feel like punching them in the face when they do that, because it does hold people back. And so if you are already a little bit weak in an area, whether it's through alcohol addiction, whether it's drug addiction, sex addiction, whether it's through lying addiction, whatever issue you had in the past, and you're trying to get over it, the last thing that you need is somebody coming up in your face and reminding you of everything bad you ever did. If you were doing that to somebody, I want to drop kick you in the face. I'm just saying. You need to be drop kicked in the face. I'm not going to physically do that. I'm just saying that's what I want to do. Because it's so harmful.
What the person needs to do, though, when you are going on your healing journey, you're going to lose a lot of people.
Yes.
Family included. Mm-hmm. You are going to lose a lot of people because they like that old you that they can manipulate and, talk about, and you just do whatever they say. You're going to lose all those people because they're not going to like that, because they're not growing. Right. They're not changing. They're not healing. Yes. Somebody is always going to try to hold you down, but it's up to you to be strong enough to not let that happen.
It's a choice.
Yeah, it is.
It might be a hard choice sometimes, but
it is very hard.
It's a choice.
Very hard, but you have to make a choice and always choose you. Always choose you.
I love what you said about looking in the mirror and starting to talk to yourself the way you want to be talked to. And I can tell you, audience, it does work if you choose to do it. It feels weird and strange and kind of goofy at first. Like, you just feel real stupid, but you won't feel stupid after a while, because you'll begin to believe what is constantly told to your face. All of us do. If you're constantly told that you are great, you are great, you are great, you really truly start to believe that you are great. Yeah, if you're constantly told you ain't nothing but shit, you begin to act that way because you believe we believe what we're told over and over again. It's just human nature.
That's why you got to start talking to yourself nicely.
Yes. And I love that you gave that advice. So, Shawnti, tell us what other services do you offer, and how can people find you?
I do mental health coaching. I do one-on-one and group. I have a set of guided journals that I created that are different topics. So whatever topic that you want to work on, self-love, self-esteem, self-awareness, unpacking emotional baggage, I have journals for that. And they're with specific prompts in them. So the person can focus on whatever issue it is that they're having. And I can be found go to my website, ShawntiRefuge.com. And I'm on all social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I'm Shawnti Refuge Journals.
All right. And Shawnti's information will be in the episode description. So you'll be able to click on her link there and go directly to her website. Well, Shawnti, there is 911 million more topics I wanted to talk to you about today.
Have me back.
But actually, I was thinking that as we were talking, I probably will. I thank you for coming on, and I've just enjoyed speaking with you, and I really hope that there's at least one young girl out there who can identify with you that heard this and is able to make some changes.
She will.
It all starts in her mind.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now for a mind-shifting moment. I actually want to leave you with 2 thoughts today that I'm going to put in the form of questions. Number 1, what are you sowing right now? With that, I want you to look at, what do you want to reap? What crops do you want to be able to harvest later in your life? What things do you want to manifest? What things do you want to see grow? What do you want to see happen? And then I want you to take a look at those things versus, what are you sowing right now? Are you planting the seeds that are going to get you that crop? Or are you planting apple seeds expecting to get grapes? I want you to think about that. The other thought is, what issues are you not dealing with? Because I promise you, they're already dealing with you. She had a nervous breakdown. That's what forced her to confront her issues and finally deal with a lifetime of stuff. Many of you are listening, regardless of your age. And you have a lifetime of stuff that you've been burying underneath the ground, expecting it to go away. It's never gone away. It's affecting how you act, behave, and think now. It's affecting your relationships. It's affecting your job. It's affecting every part of you. What do you need to deal with? Thank you for listening to Mindshift Power Podcast. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at The Mindshifter. If you have any comments, topic suggestions, or would like to be a guest on the show, please visit fatimabay.com/podcast. Remember, there's power in shifting your thinking. Tune in for next week.